I've talked to you about consolidation, I've talked to you about flights, and that's a lot of information to have. What I'm going to talk to you next about is communication, so you can keep everything, so you can understand what's going on while you are creating your tour. Communication is key. One of the most important communication is between the group leader and the tour consultant. Group leader says, I cannot fly on a specific date because we have graduation. You need to tell your tour consultant so we can tell the flights department to not book flights on that date. Maybe one of your students is a vegetarian. You need to communicate that with your tour consultant so we can contact the hotels to make sure that they provide your student with a vegetarian meal. This is very important. There are a lot of questions that your parents and your students might have for you. They might want to know about payment plans, about insurance, and about tough safety and security questions. Maybe you don't have the full confidence in telling this information. Have them call our customer service department. We have an amazing customer service department, and they are accessible between 9 and 5:30. Have them call, and they will have no problems in communicating this information to your parents and your students. Now that I've talked about communication, I'm now going to hand it over to Ted so he can communicate how you can recruit for your tours.
Well, Suakri did a really great job there of kind of drawing back the curtain on EF and our business model and telling you a lot about how we work, how we have to work with the airlines, and how you fit into that process. Now for the next few slides, I'm going to talk about recruitment. So who has started the recruitment process so far? Sandy, have you begun recruiting yet?
Yeah, well, I'm still thinking about it. I haven't had a meeting, I had no students signed up.
Okay, great. Well, that's perfectly all right. Basically, group leaders tend to run the whole gamut, and I am going to run through the entire process of your recruitment, starting with choosing your tour, and then moving on to having your meetings, and then finally on to your end goal of recruiting participants for your tour. So your first step in the recruitment process is to determine what type of tour fits your needs. And you're going to have various types of needs. You'll find yourself asking a lot of different questions during this portion of the recruitment process. Questions like, what are my educational goals? Or if you're a Spanish teacher, do you want to immerse your students in the language? Do you want to take them to Mexico to learn the language, to Spain? If you're a biology teacher, for example, do you want to take your students to Costa Rica or some destination where they can actually interact with wildlife? So that would also play into destinations. Also, price is very important. What can the parents and students in your school and your community afford? Is price really important? Is it important to keep it low? Or are you in a higher socioeconomic school where you've got a little bit of leeway there and can maybe do a longer tour and show your students more of the world? You'll also be looking at date conflicts. Suakri mentioned this earlier. You want to make sure to avoid things like running into conflicts with graduation, proms, important dates like that. And then also take into consideration whether or not there are other teachers traveling in your school. Number one, you don't want to step on any toes and hinder anyone else's recruitment. But if you've got another teacher across the school that is also interested in taking a tour to France, then that could hinder your own recruiting, and maybe you want to choose a different destination to help yourself out. So now that you have answered all of those questions, it's important to look at the different types of tours that EF has, and we have a wealth of them, starting with our brochure tours. We have over 250 different tours in our brochures, starting with our city stays, which run from 6 days to 8 or 9 days. For example, we have Rome, London, and Paris city stays. So that's a great option if your group is just interested in seeing the hustle and bustle of a major European city and really seeing the sights in one area. We also have multi-city and multi-country tours where you'll be moving around a bit more and seeing a lot more destinations. We have customized itineraries. These are a great option if you don't see anything in the brochure that you're interested in, or if you just want to do something kind of off the cuff. We've run everything from Harry Potter tours, vampire tours, and even done a radiology tour. So if you have a really specific passion and don't think that there's any chance you could run a tour that would interest your students, it's entirely possible, and customized is probably the route that you want to go. We've also got college study tours, mainly geared towards the college age group. They have a higher academic content, and we try and build some time into those itineraries for our college professors to do lectures or to schedule other sorts of activities. And then finally, we have a relationship with Girl Scouts now, and we are running tours with them. We have 3 domestic tours currently, and also the Girl Scout Journey, which goes to London, Paris, and Lucerne and visits some of our Girl Scout World Centers. So now that you've picked out the type of tour and the specific tour that, excuse me. So now that you have picked out the tour that you want to take with your students, it's important to decide which students or which group of people you want to travel with. Your first step is going to be to set an enrollment goal. And you'll have other questions that you want to answer at this point. So for example, how many chaperones do you want to take? If you have a unisex group, do you want to also take a male or a female chaperone, just so that you've got a chaperone of each sex, just in case? A lot of administrations do require something along those lines. A typical enrollment goal that I'll suggest is 18. It's about an average group size. That way you've got 2 other sets of eyes on the tour, which is fantastic. Excuse me. And at this point, you'll be deciding who you want to recruit. So do you want to restrict it to just your class and have everyone from your class going on this tour and immersing themselves in this other culture or subject matter? Do you want to open it up to the entire school to give yourself a larger recruiting pool? Or do you want to even open it up to the community, open it up to parents beyond students? You want to find a location for your meetings. So if your school board is supportive, see if you can have the meeting in the school library, the school computer lab. Somewhere with a computer is fantastic so that you can get applications and enrollments at that meeting. You'll want to plan out a meeting schedule, and I'll go over a bit of that momentarily. And then invite us to help. Suakri and I are both members of the EF Face-to-Face team. We travel around full-time and travel all over the country meeting with students, teachers, parents, conducting meetings, helping teachers out. So we're an excellent resource to have at recruitment meetings. So now that you've determined the prospective travelers that you want to go with, the next step is to have a meeting, get them excited, and get them signed up. That's your end goal there. So you'll have a few meetings, but the one that you want to start with is your student meeting, and that's where the excitement really starts. You'll want to gather interest at this meeting, and you'll want to keep it short because students oftentimes won't have a lot of time during the school day. So if you want to have that meeting during lunch for about 15 minutes, towards the end of a class period, or right after school, just a time when you're not interfering with other activities and can just get them some information about your tour. And you'll want to keep it fun. So if you're going to Spain, for example, maybe have some tapas at the meeting. If you're going to Mexico, chips and salsa, have some sort of music, dancing, anything like that, something to get them really excited. And then also, I can't stress this enough, sell the destination, not necessarily the tour. Suakri talked about your date range and consolidation requests towards the beginning of the presentation, and it's really important to keep in mind that although 80% of groups get either their first choice tour or their first choice date, it's not a guarantee. So make sure to sell the destination rather than a specific tour itinerary. Then for your second meeting, actually at the end of your student meeting, you'll want to send the students home with a parent letter. And that parent letter will invite parents to a parent or enrollment meeting. So at that meeting, you'll do a bit of what you did at the student meeting, generate some more excitement, but then go beyond that. Explain the benefits of educational travel. It's an incredible resource to teach your students, to show them the world. Also talk about safety and security. Suakri mentioned that that's our #1 priority, and you shouldn't feel any sort of hesitancy about talking about that. EF has an incredible wealth of resources, and the parents should absolutely feel comfortable sending their students abroad with us. And then finally, and most importantly, you'll want to share the price quote. You can either pull that off of the website or have your tour consultant get you one for your first choice tour. Finally, set an application deadline. I can't tell you how important this is. As teachers, you would never assign any sort of homework, any sort of take-home test or anything like that without setting an application or without setting some sort of a deadline. Otherwise, students wouldn't turn it in. This is the same principle. I suggest an application deadline of no more than a week after your meeting. And then you'll want to continue to schedule follow-up interest meetings and all the way up to what we call in the office a pre-departure meeting, where you'll actually be telling the group the ins and outs